Hi there, today we are going to have a look at using Twitter to build strategic relationships. Now, although we're focusing on Twitter today, this concept applies to pretty much every social media platform, any networking situations. It really is something that you can use throughout your business, not just for Twitter. We're not going to go into how to set up your Twitter account today, or how to design it, or how to do the basics such as sending tweets, how to retweet, those kind of things. We're looking at this from a perspective of you've got a very basic understanding of what Twitter is, and we're going to use it now to get to grips with it and use it professionally for your business to build some good relationships. Now, before we get started, I'll run us through quickly what we're going to talk through. Obviously, we need to understand why we're using Twitter in the first place. It's really about understanding our goals and our objectives. Then we're going to move on to deciding who best to follow. We're going to cover a bit about how to engage your audience and avoid becoming a twit. Then we're going to talk about how to get them where you want them, and also managing Twitter in about 10 minutes every day. So little and often, rather than doing it in huge waves of tsunami that scare the life out of people. Okay, so when you get started with anything, you need to have an understanding as to why you're getting involved. Very frequently, we get sucked into the frenzy of needing to do something or use Twitter, or you just distracted by shiny objects, and we've got to get away from doing that because the online world is full of it and you'll waste a hell of a lot of your time. So really sort of just doing it, just being there on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you are, or YouTube even, it just doesn't cut it. You've got to be able to use it strategically to build your business. So most people don't have a strategy. If you do want a strategy, then by all means give me a call or drop me an email, because that's really the best place to get started, is to understand what you're trying to achieve and then how you're going to get there in the first place. So really we need to decide what we're doing. So what is our objective? Where do we start? What's our objective? What are we doing? Why are we getting involved in the first place? That clarity is really important. Is it that you're looking to connect with people to generate new income for your business, so new clients? Are you looking to use it for research purposes? Are you using it to act as a customer service outlet? What is your objective for using Twitter? Because then it means you're going to use it quite differently. So get that clear in the first place, then at least you will have some kind of focus and purpose to make sure that you're using it properly. Okay. When people dive into using social media, they forget that actually there are some other parts of this very basic marketing triangle. Twitter itself is just the media part. This is the how we're going to talk to people. It's not the who, and people forget this bit, and this is the cornerstone to everything. Who are your target market? So we really need to define who our target markets are, and if we can do that in as much detail as possible, all the better. It's going to serve us well in the future. So think about your gender, or their gender, sorry, what sector they work in or what sectors they operate with, where they're located geographically, their age range, their characteristics, their buying behaviours, what other companies do they work with, what companies do they spend their money on, what products and services do they buy. What is it that keeps them awake at night? What are their dreams, their desires? Are they price sensitive? Are there certain things that kind of get their emotions going? Because generally people buy based on emotion and back it up with logic later. But the more you know about them, the easier it's going to become for you, as I've said. Using Twitter, you can get under the skin of your market quite easily. It's a great research tool. And it also gives you the opportunity to get some of your clients involved in, say, product development or that kind of stuff. So there's lots and lots of ways in which you can use it. But first of all, we need to define who our target market are. Once we've decided who they are, we can go out and find them and start to deliver our messages. Now, I'm assuming that you know what your messages are going to be, but we will talk about engaging with your target market a little bit later on, so that you can get an idea of the kind of things to say, so that you're not just completely blurbing out there all the time. Okay, so if we pop over to Twitter now, we are going to have a quick look at various different ways to identify the right kinds of people for you to follow. So let's pop into Twitter. Now today I'm going to use the account that I've just set up for Lily and I. We have a little business that we're setting up for her predominantly. Obviously I'm doing most of the work at the moment because she's only just coming up to 10, but it's going to be a business that she can run while she's in high school and going through college and university and what have you, so that she can earn some money, be self-sufficient while she's still at school and while she's learning. It's very important for me to instill that ability to be self-sufficient in my children. They need to be able to look after themselves and be independent. So getting them involved in enterprise as early on as possible is quite important for me. So what I'll do is I'll show you how I would go about starting up this account and who to follow and why. So this will be the kind of case study that you can then apply to your business. So everything that I'm doing will apply to you and your business and the various different things that you are looking to achieve. So obviously set up your profile and make sure you've got a good bio and some contact details. I haven't put our website on there yet because I'm still in the process of building it. I don't want people going there until we're ready to receive them. Okay, so Twitter doesn't really mean an awful lot to you until you get started. And the only way to get started is to start following people. Now, as you can see here on our profile, we are following 73 people. So that means we have tagged, followed, liked, whatever you want to say, 73 accounts that we are interested in seeing the content of. We have 15 followers, so those are the people that are then following us, who are interested in what we've got to say. And here you'll see that we've got 10 lists, and I'll come on to lists in a short while because these are going to be really important to help you manage your Twitter experience. Okay, so first of all, you need to start, when you set up your account, it will ask you to start following some people and it will give you some suggestions, because Twitter is nothing until you are following people. You won't get any information in your home feed. And these tweets won't start dropping in and give you anything to read or look at because you're not following anybody. So to start with, they will give you some suggestions and there'll be a few in there that you'll want to follow and some that you won't. So just choose those that you do and then get on to your main account. The easiest, quickest way is to search Twitter. So if you have got specific people in mind that you would like to follow, so if I say Forget Me Not Toys, we're already following them, so I would come over here. These are a local business to us, and we would click on the little follow button over here on the right hand side. What I will then do is click on this little icon to the left, and then I'm going to add them to a list, because what I want to do is keep my Twitter following in some kind of organised shape or form. So I'm going to click on add or remove from list. If you haven't set any up yet, don't panic, you can do that from here. All you have to do is click on create a list. You can give your list a name, whatever that name may be. You don't need to give it a description unless it's going to be a public list. So for example, I might have a list here of, say, vegetarian restaurants in Warrington. And because I'm going to keep that, I'm going to show that public, I'm going to say to here, great. Okay, so anyone who wants to come and have a look at my list will understand who they can find within that list, and that will give them a place where they can go and find lots of great vegetarian restaurants, or restaurants that serve great vegetarian food in Warrington. But what I'm going to do is actually keep the majority of my lists private. So for example, let's do this one. So I'm going to add into my list tropic ambassadors, but I don't want to make that widely available to anybody else because I don't want them to go and buy their products from them. I want them to buy from me. So I'm going to click on Save List, and I've clicked it as a private list. Now sometimes, as is happening today, Twitter makes some silly mistakes. Now I had checked for this particular list to be private, so it should have a little padlock to the right hand side of it showing that it's a private list, but it hasn't. So I'm going to have to go and edit that list in a minute and just change it, and some of these too that I've set up this morning. Okay, so Forget Me Not, I want to put them into my local businesses, and I also am going to put them in synergy businesses. Actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to take them out of that. So you can have as many of these checked as you want to. You just uncheck and check them and decide which list you want them to be in, or multiple lists. And you don't need to then click anything. You can then just click off of this and they will be added to your list. Okay. What Twitter will then do, based on the people that you start to follow, it will then also send you some suggestions. So underneath Forget Me Not, as I've followed them, it's now going to give me some similar accounts that they think I might be interested in. So it's come up with World Remit, The Common Room and The New Bookshop. If I want to follow any of those, I can do by clicking on follow, and again I can add them to my list. So I'm going to click those into a local business, and I will follow them because they have lots of lovely young ladies that go there that are interested potentially in skincare, makeup and looking good. So I will add them in there, but I'm not interested now in that, so I'm going to close. What I could do also is have a look on my right hand side, because Twitter again will show me a nice long list of who to follow. So I can refresh that list if I don't see anybody on there, keep refreshing it, see who else is in there. We'll give Joy a quick follow. I'm going to click on View All, and it'll give me a nice long list of people to come and have a look at. So I can then go through and let's have a look. We'll add to them and add them to a list. Add them to my women's organisations. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to Forget Me Not, because the other way in which to find people to follow is have a look at the people that you're following, have a look at their accounts. So who are they following? They're following 745 people, and they've got 825 people following them. Now, I'm not so interested in who they're following, because they're probably following lots of book type things, toys, suppliers, those kind of things. I'm interested in who's following them, who are their followers, because they are the people that if they're going there, they might want to actually become my customers as well. So I'll have a quick look on there, and all I have to do is click on that and it will bring up a list of who their followers are. And there's us. Ta-da! And basically I could go through here and say, right, okay, there's another mum there, so I'm going to add her to my mums list. Local mamas. Warrington Market, I'm already following them. So I can just take some time to go through here and have a look and see if there's anybody in here that's of use. Aha, there's the lovely Caroline. I shall follow her. She's also in health and well-being, so I will pop her in there. Actually, no, I won't. Synergy Businesses. Okay, so you can have a look at this and think, right, I'm going to have a look at these people and I'm going to follow them. And by following them, they get a notification to say that you have followed them. So over in the notifications button at the top, you will then get a little thing, a little thumbnail here of their image, and it will show that these people have followed you recently. It will also show in here if anybody has sent you a message. As I said, we won't go into the mechanics of it, but it will show you here if you've got any @mentions that you need to follow up with and people talking to you. So you can see here that these people have followed you, so you can then go back and start to have a conversation with them and thank them for following. So it opens up the opportunity to have a conversation by following somebody. Twitter's very reciprocal, so generally if you follow somebody and you aren't talking complete and utter nonsense and posting lots of rubbish, then people tend to follow you back. So it's a great way to then introduce yourself and your business and what you do to your chosen target markets. Okay, so we've had a look at having a quick search for people directly, adding them onto the lists, and also looking at the followers and the following of people that you're already interested in talking to. The other way that we can have a look for people to follow is by using hashtags. Now, hashtags are a great way of pulling together topics of conversation. So, for example, this hashtag beauty tips is one that I've already saved. This will now bring up for me everybody that is using the hashtag beauty tips in any of their tweets. Okay. I can change this to people if I want to. So I can have a look at people that have beauty tips. And I can have a look at photos, videos, that kind of stuff. So have a think about the kind of terminology that people will use when they're talking on Twitter and how you can use that by saving some searches for hashtags. If you want to save that search, there's a little button here on the top right hand side, and if you click on that one it will save it for you, so it will then appear in this drop down menu in your search bar up here. Okay, so let's just check that it has saved as soon as I took it out. Okay, so that's still in there now, and as you can see here, my other searches that I've got set up, I've got vegan, I've got cruelty free, beauty tips, and it's just a great way for you to then be able to see who is using that, because you might then want to go and follow those people. It gives you the opportunity to either retweet their content, or it might be that you want to have a bit of a look at what people are talking about in that particular industry sector potentially, so that you can see what the common topics are, so that you can add them into your content. The other way that you can do this is to use the advanced search button over on the left hand side, and in here you can use various different words, phrases, hashtags, or get rid of certain words, or not use certain words. So any of the Boolean type searches that you can do online, you can do here in Twitter in advanced search. You can check to see whether certain people are mentioning specific accounts. So if I do tropic skincare and do Liverpool, This will now bring me up anybody who is mentioning Tropic Skincare in the Liverpool area. So at the moment it's me and Helen Adams, so we're both ambassadors, and then this lady here has been talking. So she is a fashion and beauty blogger in Wallasey, so I think I will follow her, and I'm going to add her to beauty bloggers list. Okay. Oh, come on. It's not doing it, is it? It's not playing games with me today, Twitter. There we go. It's in there. Okay. So if I found that this was a particularly good search that I wanted to look at, I can save it again, and it will then appear up here in my saved searches. So as soon as I go up to here, it will bring up any saved searches that I've got. So have a think about how people talk and how your prospects chat when they're on Twitter, because it's not going to be the same as it would be if they were searching on Google. So when we search on Google, we would be looking for, say, beauty therapist Warrington, skincare products Liverpool. We might be looking for hat designers in St Helens. We would use either those very short phrases, or we would ask and use long tail phrases, which is becoming more and more frequent. So I might be how to treat eczema in children. That might be a search that's happening on Google, but that wouldn't necessarily be something that somebody would be saying on Twitter. What they might be saying is, I'm fed up with eczema. Fed up of eczema. We're not going to put any location in, just to see if it does actually bring up anything. But this is where you've got to listen as much as you talk on social media to find out how people are talking. So for example here, this girl, Lisa Howe, massively fed up of eczema and allergies now, sick of waking up and not knowing what my skin will look like, sulk. So she's based in Kent. I could then reply to her. I mean, that was back in August 2012, so it's a bit late. But you can go and talk to people and help them find a solution for the problems that they have. So if you understand your market, as we spoke about in our second step, then you know how to actually find people, follow them up, and help them and direct them in the way of finding a solution. So brilliant way to find people is these kind of save some searches into your account. Okay, where are we up to? The other one that I would like you to have a look at, and you need to make sure that you've got your teeth in for this one. I'm going to load it in and talk about something else while we are waiting for it to load. Okay. If you want to follow competitors so that you know what they're up to, you don't have to actually follow them, so you don't have to add to their following. But say for example, let's have a look and see if there's anybody here. So Arbonne UK. These guys apparently deliver pure, safe and botanical products. Now I know that some of them aren't as natural as they should be. Now I don't want to follow Arbonne UK because I would be giving them my traffic, because people would go and have a look at my account and who I'm following and who's following me and all that kind of stuff. But I might want to see what they are and how they're going. So what I'm going to do is, rather than follow them, is I'm just going to add them to my list. Now obviously at the moment you can see here that my list of competitors is not showing its little padlock, so I'm going to go and make sure now that that is changed. So I go up to my little profile picture here on the right hand side, click on lists, and now I can go and edit any of my lists by clicking on them. I'm going to edit that one and I'm going to click it to private and click list. Okay, now that might mean that what you want to do is change the title of this. I'm going to change it to others. So if it does become live, then we don't need to know that it's specifically competitors, because if Twitter decides in its wonderful self to actually change this from a private list to public, then people will be able to see, and we don't want that to happen. Okay, so that's covered your competitors. Don't forget to follow journalists and bloggers. They are really helpful people because they're online all the time, and it's a great way to get PR for your business. You might find opportunities by chatting to those kind of people. So again, always have a list for journalists and industry specialists or industry experts, that kind of thing. Okay, let's go back to Followwonk. Don't say this without having your teeth in, it's a bit of a dodgy one. But here what we're going to do is search the biographies of Twitter users, and we're going to narrow it down by location. So it's brilliant, I love this one. I've used it in lots of cases where we've looked for people that have got specific interests within their biography in a specific location. So when I was working in the cycling industry, we had we were looking for lots of guys who were interested in cycling, but we found out that lots of them were web designers. They had very digital or kind of techie type careers, or they like their gadgets. So we were able to put certain Twitter profiles up and bring them up. So for me, I'm looking for mums in Warrington. Okay, so I just need to say anyone that's got the word mum in their biography that's in Warrington, spelled correctly, would help. And click do it. I've then got a nice long list of 285 results of people that have got mum in their biography, and they're based in Warrington. Now, not all of those Warringtons will be in the UK, so just double check when you have a look. What it will also show you here is how many tweets, how many followers they've got, and how long their account, how old their account is. So you can see how sort of relevant these people are for you to follow. Now, you can't, unless you subscribe to Followwonk and pay the subscription, you cannot follow them from here. But it's easy enough just to then pop over onto your Twitter profile and follow them there. Now, Jenny Cook, I know her, so I'm going to go and find her and do actual Mrs. Cook. And I shall follow her and add her into local mamas. Okay, so we know she's here, and we can use that. So I can then go through here and have a look if there's anybody that I wish to follow. Lots of people useful for me. As I said, use lists. Make sure that, say, once a week you're going through and spending some time developing your following, and proactively going out and following people that are in your target markets. I tend to do this of an evening, sit and watch a bit of telly, or do some online development, so watch webinars and things like that, and do this at the same time, because it doesn't take an awful lot of brain power. You just need to be able to follow different threads. But set a time limit on doing that, because otherwise you could spend all day just mooching around on Twitter and just following people. Okay, so now you've got lots of people that you are following, and people are starting to follow you. You need to have something worthwhile to talk about. So what we want is to make sure that other people in their Twitter timeline, when they come here, they're seeing you, and what they're seeing from you is good quality stuff. Now, imagine when you sit next to somebody at a dinner party, you don't want to be listening to them talk about them all of the time. You'd soon want them to leave, or you to be able to escape and go somewhere else. So think about how you network, how you come across in real life, and apply that online, because it's all the same. That's how it works. If you are just talking at people about you, they're soon going to get pretty bored of what you're saying and not be interested at all. If you want them to share your content, if you want them to engage with you, then you've got to give them something worthwhile. Now, generally, that means talking about the things that they're interested in. So back at point number 2, if we know who our target market are and we know what they're interested in, we know what keeps them awake at night, we know how they spend their money, we can show them and introduce them to things that they will be interested in. So they will think, that's great because I wanted to know about that and you took me there. So they're going to be grateful for whatever it is that you're adding. So you've started a conversation with them by introducing yourself, by following them. What you've then got to do is engage them and make them want to spend more time with you by adding value. Now, be you, within reason, obviously. We don't want you to share absolutely everything, but give something of yourselves. There's no point in attempting to have a relationship or build a relationship with somebody that, you know, doesn't tell them anything about yourself, but do it in a nice, relaxed and chatty and social way. Don't kind of ram things down their throats about what you do and how you do it and the benefits of working with us are this, that and the other. Look at ways to help people. Now, I tend to suggest that people use 3 types of post or tweet or status update, and they are number 1, which is a broadcast. Now, this here is a typical broadcast post. So it's talking about what they do, and it's just going out there. It doesn't really give you any opportunity to engage. It is a traditional outbound message just to market what they do. Now this is a promoted post. We won't go into that today. We'll talk about advertising and stuff on a different session. But that is a typical broadcast post. It tells people what you do, how you do it, why you're great, the typical kind of old-fashioned marketing style things. Okay. Let's have a look and see if we can find another one. Oh, come on, people. How about... Not going to be able to find one now. Ah, here we go. The second one is to provide information. So again, thinking about the things that your target market are interested in, give them value by driving them to content that they will find useful. So, for example, this one here is an information tweet. So, Google's new phone services closes the gap between cellular and Wi-Fi, and there's a link that drives you to get more information about that subject if you're interested in it. And that is an information tweet. It's providing you with additional information about a subject that you are interested in. Now, this is the perfect way for you to drive your Twitter followers from Facebook to your website. If you haven't yet looked at my online marketing masterclass, can I suggest that you do that, because this is one of the important things that people misunderstand when it comes to online marketing. What they think is that they can sell to people directly on Twitter, and yes, you can to a certain extent, but what you have to do is build a relationship first. You have to make sure that those people know who you are, that they trust you, that they like you before they're going to buy. So what we tend to find is that people think that all they have to do is chat to somebody on Twitter and that's it. Well, actually, that's not the case. Unless they're ready to buy from you immediately, then you're going to spend much of your time talking to people and not actually converting and getting any sales. So what we have to do is make sure that we attract people at this end of our process, talking about the things that they're interested in, having a chat with them, whatever it might be. But what we really need to do is then send them down here to capture... Oh, come on, silly computer. We want to capture their leads, capture their details so that we can then nurture them towards a sale. So by sending them from Twitter to your website, you have control of this process. On Twitter, you don't own your account. If Twitter want to shut you down, then they can. If you do something ridiculous, you could lose access to your Twitter account, and therefore all those your hard-earned or all your hard work will be undone. So wherever possible, we want to be sending those people from Twitter through to your website, where you can capture them with lead bait. Now, we'll talk about lead bait in another session, as I've said, but have a bit of a think about the kind of ways in which we can send people off from Twitter, a legitimate way to send them from Twitter. So it could be a prize draw, could be a voucher or a discount code, could be registration for an event. You've always got to think of ways to capture their details, because we want to be able to get in contact with them at a later stage so that we can nurture them. Okay, so we pop back into Twitter. So this is driving them over to a website where they can read, obviously, an article. It could well be that you send somebody over, as I said, to a website to get some information that they then have to give their contact details for. Because if they come here and they're reading your articles, that's great. It builds your credibility, but it's not going to actually get them to buy anything. It's just a nurture process. And you still, at this stage, don't necessarily know who these visitors are. Okay? So think about how you use information tweets to send people through to your website. If you want to use shortened links like this, because bearing in mind Twitter have only got 140 characters, so you don't want a huge, great big long URL in your tweet taking up all your space. If you use something like bit.ly, all you have to do is copy the URL that you want to copy, that you want to send people to, and copy it into here. And what it will do then is give you a shortened link here, which you copy and paste straight into your tweet. So easy peasy lemon squeezy to get these little shortened links that will help you to drive traffic. The other thing is you can then track through Bit.ly how many people have clicked that link, so you can see how interesting this piece of information was. Okay, and then the third type of tweet, post, status update that I suggest you start using is the engagement. And this one here is engagement. So speaking to somebody in particular and thanking them for the retweet, and you know, just listening and talking to people rather than just posting the kind of broadcasting stuff that doesn't really do anything for anybody. So again here, hi, you're welcome, and thanks for the mention. So it's your way to engage with people and find a way to have a chat with them. So you can have a look at what people are saying and then start a conversation with them about that topic. Okay, so try not to broadcast too much. Make sure that you're sending people via useful, valuable information to your website so that you can capture them if you can. And engage with people. Listen as much as you talk on Twitter, because you will learn an awful lot about your industry, about your potential clients, and also about their behaviours and how you can use that to your business's advantage. Okay, so as I've said, we need to get them from Twitter into somewhere that you can have control of them. This is really important, and I can't stress enough, excuse me, that your number one asset in your business is your database or your list. So you need to be building that and nurturing it constantly. Twitter is a fantastic way to do it, because as you've seen, you can identify the right people to get in front of very quickly and have a salesy conversation with them pretty easily. So you have the opportunity to attract them very simply, but then how can you take them on to the next level in terms of relationships. So if you think about this in dating, you've got to be able to get their phone number. So you've chatted them up in the pub, but you've now got to convince them that actually they want to give you some contact details so that you can then arrange to talk to them one-to-one or to take that relationship to the next level. So we want to do that by opting in, ideally on your website, because that is where you have the most control. So use MailChimp and web forms and lead pages. There are so many tools that you can use to create those data capture vehicles on your website. And again, we'll cover that in another session because I think that's really important. But have a think about how you're going to do that. What things would be of value to them that they would give their contact details? So I quite often use these things, these little tutorials and the how-tos, because people always want to know how to do these things, and they're happy to say, okay, yep, you can have my email address and I'll get access to this learning. That's great. But think about how you can apply that in your business, because your business relies on that database to survive, because we've then got to have a way to email market or nurture those clients, or prospects rather, into becoming a client. Okay, so we don't want those people left on Twitter. Wherever possible, get them off. Right, now let's talk about how we can use Twitter in about 10 minutes a day. So this takes a lot of stuff, and you could spend all day doing all of this, couldn't you? But what we want to do is set particular time apart each day, each week, to work on our Twitter profile and make it work for us, so that we can then get on and do whatever else we need to do in our business. Now, I would suggest that you use a dashboard of some description. So something like Buffer. Something like TweetDeck. They are basically dashboards that you connect up to your Twitter account, and then you can use them to organise and tweet and schedule your content so that you know that there's content going out. I personally use Hootsuite. Hootsuite is my dashboard of choice. And again, I've got tutorials for this, so if you want to know how to use that, let me know. So I'm not going to show you how to set this up, but effectively, this is what I use. Weekly, I use Twitter, and I go in and I build my audience. So I go in and I find new people to follow, and set up new lists and do that kind of thing, do a bit of housekeeping. Day to day, I use Hootsuite, and what I do is I have got my timeline in there, I've got any mentions that I need to deal with, inbox messages, and anything that I have then got scheduled to go out. Now, when I say scheduled, as I've mentioned to you, if you're using broadcasting messages, if you're giving people links to information, then you can plan that in advance. Now, you can't plan your engagement posts, unfortunately. That would be great if we could. But what we've got here is the opportunity to save ourselves an awful lot of time. Now, I'm going to just delete these out of here, and I'm going to show you then what I would be doing on a daily basis. So I would pop in, check for any mentions, and then I would have a look at the streams that I've set up based on my list. So can you remember, we've set up lists so that we can then go in and have a look at what's going on in our specific markets that we're interested in. Okay, so I can go through here and look to see if there's anything that I want to retweet. So let's have a look at retweeting that. Now I can just retweet that straight away here by clicking yes, and it will go out, or I can click edit, and what it will do is it will open up in my little editor up here, and I can then make changes to it. and I can then decide to when I want it to go out. So if I say I want that to go out Saturday at 8:10 p.m. and schedule it. My message is too long for Twitter because they haven't left me enough space to do my RTs. Click schedule. And if I now look in my tab, you'll see that this has been scheduled to send at 8:10 on April the 25th, so that can go out. So I can come in and make sure that over the week I've got lots of tweets going out about lots of different various topics. I can retweet other people's content, I can mix it up with my own, and then I can come in every now and again throughout the day if I feel like it, and deal with any mentions that come up, or have another quick look and see if there's anything in there that I want to add into what's going on my Twitter feed. So once I've got this set up properly, then I shall be raring to go. So the best way to limit your time and make sure that Twitter works for you rather than you wasting your time on it is to use a dashboard like Buffer, TweetDeck, Hootsuite, Social Sprout. There's all sorts out there, so you just have to find the one that you prefer. Okay, so now that you know what's going on, you can use Twitter to set up an intelligent business. You can use it to find competitor intelligence, product and market intelligence. You can find out insights about your customers. You can then use that to develop your messages, to go back out to market and to drive those back to your website and capture their details so that you have an opportunity to develop a further relationship with those people offline or online, however you wish to do that, and take them to the next stage in your process, whether that be through sales, through meetings and appointments, or whatever it may be. So hopefully you've learned quite a lot out of our session today. If you have any questions, always give me a call, drop me an email, mention us on Twitter, and connect on Facebook, generally online, and if I'm not, there'll be an opportunity for me to catch up with you at some point. But please do get stuck in. If you've got anything that crops up and you're not sure what to do as it happens, then let us know and we'll help you out. So let me know also any success stories that you've had, any great stuff that you've learned, and if this has been useful to you, then obviously please do share it with your friends and your colleagues. I'll be speaking to you all soon. Take care. Good luck. Bye.